A local woman's family research has ended in her publishing a book. Mosgiel resident Judy Knox says the project has brought her relatives closer together, and she's here to tell us all about it. Good evening, Judy.
Good evening.
So firstly, tell us, when did you start researching your family?
Goes back quite a way, actually. My brother has been doing family trees for years, and I was in England in 2003 and followed up on a few links, and it sort of got me moving. I did my mother's story first, and this new stub one has just been the last maybe 6 years.
So tell us, what prompted you to begin all this in the first place?
Actually, my older sister was probably the major prompt for my mother's story. She suggested that she had an interesting life, our mum, and that it would be interesting to record it, which I did, and then the other book just sort of grew from there.
And how hard was it to find all this information about your relatives?
Quite difficult, although the earlier stuff was easier to locate than the later one. The present generations aren't so very interested, although I had an exciting find tonight when I arrived that one of your people here, actually her grandmother was a new stub, so that's something I hadn't, she's not in the book. I'll have to rectify that.
Well, it's fantastic. And where were your family members based? Where did you find?
Well, Thomas Newstub was the original one from England. He arrived in 1849 in the Mary, and they were based in the harbour. He came to Port Chalmers and settled there, and they lived and worked on the harbour. Well, some of the generations are still there.
Fascinating. What other interesting things have you learnt about your family members?
One of the interesting threads that's come through it all is the engineering and the merchant navy thread. A lot of the members of the family came through very interested in building and engineering, and then the other thread was the World Wars. We had 15 members of the family served in both World Wars, and only one died. The rest came back, so that was quite exciting to find that out.
Wow, eh? And did you always intend to publish a book? How did that come about?
Well, I've always been interested in writing, and as an ex-primary school teacher, I've always wanted to write, and this was just a sort of an offshoot of other stuff that I've done.
And tell us, how exactly has this process brought your family closer together?
Well, we've found all sorts of connections. The English connection was marvellous to find those people, and I spent two times I've been to England and stayed extensively with family there and been shown around all the original places where my great-grandfather was born and all these sorts of places. And then locally, we just seem to have come closer together. I've met lots of cousins and second and third and fourth cousins that I hadn't met before, and it's been really great.
Wow, eh? And I understand you've written other books. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, I always had an itch to write children's books, and so I produced a junior novel called Trapped, and in 1998 it was awarded the New Zealand Post Awards Best First Book, so that was a real thrill. And I've had I've got one other children's book published and a couple of others in the pipeline, but that's another story.
And what do you hope that readers will get out of this latest publication of yours?
Well, I hope that the family will get a picture of where their roots are and where they come from, especially the present day ones, the young people. If the children will look at the family trees in there and trace their ancestors back, that will be exciting. But the wider public may also find that there's a lot of interest, especially in the first chapters, because it covers early shipping and dredging. My grandfather was very deeply involved with dredges. They built pontoons and dredges all around the country, so hopefully the wider public will find some interest there as well.
Yeah. And for people sitting at home, what advice would you give them if they want to look into their own family tree?
Well, first I'd say join a genealogy group, because they're incredibly supportive and helpful, and they have access to a lot of resources that I've found not so easily available. But the internet is the most amazing thing. You can find an awful lot out on that these days, and Papers Past was the other major resource I gained a lot from. So join a group.
Good advice. Judy Knox, Dunedin author, thanks for your time.
Thank you.